Horror fans have had a lot to scream about these past few years, and it looks like we're going to have even more scares ahead of us. From remakes of terrifying classics and chilling sequels to the ghostly promise of brand new IP, here's GameSpot's list of the 25 best horror games to look forward to in 2023 and beyond. Dead Space Remake. After the divisive reception of Dead Space's spiritual successor, The Callisto Protocol, all eyes have now turned to the remake of the original game by EA's Motive Studio. The remake will again follow the journey of engineer Isaac Clarke as he fights off hordes of grotesque alien creatures on a derelict spaceship. Along with a sharp graphical makeover, the remake will bring new improvements like a propulsion boost and the ability to move in all 360 degrees while spacewalking. So you're gonna have even more angles to dismember monsters from, which hopefully will make it less scary. Redfall. Arcane, the studio behind Dishonored and Prey, is trying its hand at an Xbox-exclusive 4-player co-op FPS a la Left 4 Dead. This time, however, the twist is that you're in a world filled with super-powered vampires. While the formula may be tried and true, Arcane will hopefully bring its unique immersive sim style of gameplay to the genre in order to make it feel fresh. And if that doesn't make it fresh, then hopefully your blood will make it fresh to the vampires. Unholy. Unholy is a first-person shooter and atmospheric psychological horror that has you explore two parallel dimensions as you search for your child. One, a mysterious Eastern European town, and two, a twisted world ruled by a relentless priesthood. The game will also feature a combat system that has you use emotions to interact with the environment and damage your opponents. It's an ambitious twist on the genre that could prove to be unique, as well as get you emotional. Alan Wake 2. Remedy is ready to bring us back to the messed up world of Stephen King-esque novelist Alan Wake in the long-awaited sequel to the psychological third-person horror game. Remedy's last game, Control, featured a crossover with Alan Wake in its DLC, creating a connection between the two worlds that many of us fans were excited to explore further. Plus, we'll get a chance to explore the tortured inner workings of Alan Wake himself. System Shock. System Shock was a major inspiration for numerous games in the genre, including later hits like BioShock. And after a successful Kickstarter campaign, Night Dive Studios is ready to bring it back, with what originally began as a remaster that has now morphed into a full-on reboot. Sadly, Night Dive has run into development troubles related to the pandemic and other factors, but the game is said to be coming in 2023, and we are excited to see what they come up with. Amnesia: The Bunker. The horror game series that may not have created, but certainly helped popularize the disempowered, unable to fight back against the monsters genre of horror for a generation of YouTube creators and watchers, is back with a new first-person horror game set in a World War I bunker. Like the rest of the games in the series, The Bunker looks to be a tense experience as you work to find a way out while trying to escape threats. The game also features a semi-open world, randomized elements, a new crafting system, and even the ability to defend yourself this time. I'm sure it'll be a ton of help, and I won't spend half my time running around screaming like a little baby. Oxenfree 2. The follow-up to the critically acclaimed Oxenfree is coming this year, and this time you play as Riley, who returns to her hometown to investigate a mysterious radio signal, but finds that there may be more going on than meets the eye. While it's not a perfectly snug fit in the horror genre, Oxenfree 2 certainly brings with it an eerie atmosphere that is definitely unsettling. At the very least, it's going to continue the original game's excellent story. Aliens: Dark Descent. Time once again to face the xenomorphs in this single-player real-time strategy game set within the Alien franchise. The game seems very XCOM-y at first glance, but unlike that turn-based series, all the action here takes place in real time, forcing you to react on the fly while still having to keep your larger strategy in mind. You'll be exploring a base, so you can use the terrain to force xenomorphs into closed-off sections, but at the cost of shutting yourself off from those sections as well. It's definitely a unique take on both the genre and franchise that we hope doesn't lead us to be game over, man. Game over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Sorry, I apologize. Layers of Fear. Bloober Team is returning to the franchise that built their reputation in the horror genre, this time teaming up with Anchar Studios. Layers of Fear seems to feature all the hallmarks of the first-person horror franchise, this time focusing on a single character rather than several generations. Bloober Team also promises a subtle yet new approach to the series. The Last Case of Benedict Fox. The Last Case of Benedict Fox is a 2.5D narrative action-adventure that dives into the world of murders, rituals, and secret organizations. Sounds like a lot of fun. If you're a fan of Metroidvania-style platformers, but want one with more of a gothic horror flavor, then this game should definitely be on your radar. Sons of the Forest. The sequel to the cult hit The Forest, Sons of the Forest is a survival horror game that promises to continue the nail-biting gameplay of the first. You'll scavenge for items as you try to survive the creepy challenges and strange inhabitants of the forest, while also starting to uncover the mystery of what lies at the heart of the horror around you. Resident Evil 4 Remake. The original Resident Evil 4 was a medium-defining piece of work that influenced all that came after it, so marrying it with the hugely successful style of the recent RE2 and RE3 remakes has us pumped that this remake might continue Resident Evil's domination as one of gaming's best horror franchises. One of the best games of all time being married with the gameplay of some of the best remakes of all time? Need we say more? Just hopefully they fix those damn escort missions. Routine. Re-revealed last year, Routine is a first-person sci-fi horror game set in a 1980s vision of the future. It takes place on a lunar base, but after the base goes quiet, you must go face-to-face with an enemy who sees you as the real threat. You'll need to explore the capitalist dystopia of your sci-fi surroundings and stay alive, and figure out what's worse, capitalism or monsters. Like I said, it's very 1980s. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is returning to gaming in the same vein as other horror franchises like Evil Dead and Friday the 13th have done before it, with an asymmetrical multiplayer game. However, this game promises to bring a new twist to the genre, with it not being 4-on-1, but 4-on-3, with 3 players playing as the murderous attackers. It's definitely an interesting variation upon the genre, and one which we're curious to see if it pays off. If not, at least you'll get a unique tasting meal to chew on. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Yet if that asymmetrical horror game isn't to your taste, then we've got another one coming that just might be. This one is going to be based on the 80s classic Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and will also bring the same twist to the genre by changing up the numbers, this time with it being 3 versus 7 players, with the clowns attempting to capture all the human citizens that they can, while the humans try to destroy the clown spaceship. It's sure to provide a grim laugh. The Outlast Trials. Like Amnesia, another popular series in the depowered horror genre is making its triumphant return with the Outlast Trials. The third installment and prequel to the Outlast series will find you as one of 4 test subjects who must work together to escape a Cold War experiment in this co-op experience. Hopefully that means that you don't all die together this time. Silent Hill 2 Remake. It's been a long time since Silent Hill fans have had anything to get excited about, given that Kojima's PT failed to materialize into an actual game due to, let's just say, numerous factors. But now it seems that Konami is trying to finally make good on the franchise's promise by handing Layers of Fear creators Bloober Team the reins to a remake of the franchise's most iconic title. Once again, you'll play as James Sunderland, who travels to the strange town of Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his dead wife, and soon finds himself facing horrors that dive deep into his psyche. Silent Hill Townfall. There's not just a remake coming for Silent Hill fans though, but a brand new game too. Not much is known about Townfall beyond its name, but Konami promises that the game will shake things up for the horror franchise and that it's being developed by No Code, the studio that made Observation. So we're excited to see what this team comes up with. Slitterhead. The creator behind Silent Hill and Gravity Rush is working to create a new horror experience with Slitterhead. The game is said to feature grotesque insect monsters, and that's about all we know. So we'll be keeping our eyes, all dozens of them, on this game. Fort Solis. Another sci-fi horror game, this time in third person and set on Mars, Fort Solis sees you play as Jack Leary, an engineer sent to respond to a routine alarm on a mining facility. And we're totally sure that it'll be a very normal house call, completely routine, nothing strange about it. Not much else is known about the game except that Studio Fallen Leaf promises an immersive narrative along the lines of studio games from Supermassive Games or Quantic Dream, and that this game is going to star Troy Baker and Red Dead Redemption 2's Roger Clark, so it's certainly got the talent behind it. The Dark Pictures Anthology, Directive 8020. Speaking of Supermassive Games though, the next game in their Dark Pictures Anthology is also a sci-fi horror. Directive 8020 is the 5th entry in the uneven yet generally well-received franchise, and the first in the series' 2nd season. This one is set on the space vessel Cassiopeia, but beyond that, Supermassive has remained mostly tight-lipped on the details. Knowing them though, it's sure to be a narrative-heavy game filled with tough choices and terrifying moments. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chornobyl. Despite having been delayed due to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 still plans to be an ambitious step forward for the series. Much like the other entries in the franchise, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 takes place in the Nuclear Exclusion Zone, or the Zone, in a radiated Chernobyl, but supernatural elements lurk about to create a horror-like atmosphere. It's said that S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is going to have one of the biggest open worlds in gaming, which sounds pretty daunting for the first-person action franchise, but we're certainly ready to see what we can find and explore. Alone in the Dark. Our penultimate game is yet another remake, but one that is the most radical in its recreation. A self-described love letter to the 90s cult classic, Alone in the Dark aims to completely reimagine the 30-year-old game that helped to popularize the fixed camera horror games like the original Resident Evil series. Set in a unique manner, Alone in the Dark promises to revitalize an overlooked yet seminal franchise in the horror gaming world. Dead Island 2. Despite seeming to have died years ago, Dead Island 2 was finally reanimated in 2022, leaving us excited that the series still can take a bite out of its competition, Dying Light. Dambuster Studios seems to be well aware of the expectations it has on its shoulders, and looks to bring an exciting open-world Los Angeles and San Francisco to its new combat mechanics and rage systems, like unique zombie powers. So we're excited to take a bite out of this one and see if it lives up, or if it's just going to die once again. And those are our picks for the top 25 horror games coming out in 2023 and beyond. But there are certainly a ton more to get terrified about, so let us know what you're dreading in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to GameSpot for coverage of many of these and more games in 2023.